Hey guys, this is Brent with Western Equipment, and I've got the John Deere Z720E sitting here with me today. And if you want to know everything there is to know about this mower, then this video is for you. So let's get started. First, let's talk a little bit about model numbers, as these can always get confusing. So we'll go ahead and break these down by each individual digit here. Starting here at the first, we have a Z. Now this is just going to indicate that this is a zero turn mower. Next, we have our 7. Now this is going to be our series indicator. Within the Z or zero turn lineup, we're going to have different series of mowers, starting with Z3s, Z5s, going to the Z7, and all the way up to the commercial series Z9s. Now the next here at the 2 is going to be our model indicator, and then next is a 0 here. Now within the different levels here of these mowers, we're going to have either a 0 at the end or a 5, and this is going to be an engine indicator. So if you have a 0 here at the end of your number, that is going to indicate that this mower has a Kawasaki engine. If this ends in a 5, it's going to mean it has a different brand of engine, normally a Briggs & Stratton. And then lastly here we have this E. So at the end of this model number, we're going to always have a letter, and this is going to be a trim level indicator, E being the lower end spectrum of those trim levels. You'll also have an M, which is a mid spec, and an R, which is going to be your loaded out model with the most features. So from here, guys, we'll start at the back, talk a little bit about the engine. At the back here, guys, first thing we'll point out is this is a 23 horsepower engine. Now, one thing that you'll notice is that it's labeled John Deere, but keep in mind, like I said there at the model number, this is going to be a Kawasaki engine. And just so you know for sure that that is a Kawasaki, there is a sticker right here on the back side that will tell you that it is a Kawasaki engine. Now, another thing that we like to go over is service points. So first thing we'll point out is that this is a V-twin engine. So what we have here is we do have one spark plug on this side and one spark plug on the other side. And then next, guys, is right here on top. This is where our air filter housing is going to be. So very easy to just raise that up. You can pull this filter out, change it super easy, and then just close it back down. Next over here, guys, we've got our fuel filter. So once again, very easy to get to. It's just held on by a clamp on each side there that would be easily removable when going to change this filter. Now next here, guys, we're going to have our oil setup. First thing that I always like to talk about is the oil drain system on these mowers. This is one that is going to be here on a hose system. You just simply will remove it there from its holder, and then you'd be able to break this open and drop it down through the frame of the mower to make sure that you're getting to your oil pan and not creating a mess whenever we are doing that oil change. Next, we have our oil cap here. So as you notice right here on top, very easy to see, it is yellow and has our oil symbol there. This is not only going to be where we fill the oil, but it's also going to be our dipstick where we can check those oil levels. And then right below that, guys, we're going to have our oil filter. So great thing about this oil filter here is just how much space you have to get in there. Very easy to get to, very easy to find, and right next to all of your other oil components. Next, guys, here at the back, we do have this overflow reservoir. This is going to be our hydraulic reservoir that's going to service both of our transaxles. Now, transaxles are going to be the driving units on these mowers that actually drive both wheels. On these zero turn mowers, you have 2 of them that are controlled by the levers, and so these are very important components as they are the actual transmissions to this mower. Now, while we're talking about those, I want to show you one feature that you definitely want to know about on this mower that is going to be a little different from different tractor styles and different zero turns, is that you do have your transaxle releases here. So as you can see there, we have a sticker that's showing that when these knobs are in the forward position, we're able to push this mower. Now, one of the questions, of course, we always get is, why would I want to push this mower? And of course, we hope that you never have to do this, but we know we have these situations where maybe we run out of fuel, or we have some type of engine failure. Different things can happen, guys, where maybe we need to push this mower out of the way. So by simply turning that knob, pushing it forward, and you have one on each side, you're going to have one for each transaxle. You'll be able to relieve those transaxles, pull in your handles to release your parking brake, and then you can push this mower and get it out of the way. So the transaxles that are going to be on the 720E are the Hydro Gear ZT3100s. Now, Through Hydro Gear, the ZT series is going to be a commercial grade series transaxle. And so that means it is going to be a high functioning, heavy duty transaxle, which is important for whenever we're getting into this higher residential mower, to know that you have that power there at the rear to be able to hold that weight and also to perform well. Now, when you move up from a 720E up into the M series mowers and the R series mowers, you're going to see a price increase that's also going to be partly due to the fact that you're going to be moving up in transaxles as well. So moving up in quality and up in build whenever you're going up from the E to the R. While we're here at the back, guys, one thing to keep in mind on these zero turn mowers is that you can still pull rear attachments with this being a zero turn. So on this mower specifically, we don't have the rear hitch, but we do have these two bolts here that would allow you to add a rear hitch to this mower. That way you're able to pull things such as your sprayer, fertilizer spreader, thatcher, whatever those rear attachments are that you would normally pull with a riding lawn tractor, you can still do here with a zero turn mower. Next, here at the back, let's talk a little bit about our ROP system. This is going to be the rollover protection system. Now guys, these systems here are put on these mowers for two purposes. One being as for a safety purpose. Now what this does is whenever this is fully up like it is in the upright position and we have our seat belt on in our mower, if we're on those inclines or in that uneven ground and we happen to have that situation where we turn this mower over, this structure here is going to keep this mower from crushing you whenever that mower rolls over. So it's very important that if you're on those inclines or that uneven ground, that we do have this in the upright position. Now the other purpose for this is that it does serve as a place to add attachments. So maybe you have those certain things you want to add, like a sun canopy, or maybe you want to add some additional lights to this mower. You do have this structure here where you can add this. Now sometimes this becomes a problem for some people whenever they're mowing with these mowers. They have maybe those lower hanging trees, or maybe we're going into a shorter shed or different things like that. Just know that these are adjustable. We do have these pin systems here, very easy to just pull these pins out, and then you can actually fold this ROPS back into these two different positions where this ROPS will actually be folded all the way back here down to the bottom of the mower. Moving over here to the left hand side of the mower, guys, a couple of things I want to point out. Now hopefully you're not going to be having to get into here much, but this is going to be where our battery compartment is right here on the side. One thing that's nice about this, guys, is usually these batteries are placed underneath the seat, making them a lot harder to get to. So by moving this up on the side makes it a whole lot easier to get to this whenever we're adding those things such as that trickle charger, or maybe if we have to change that battery out. And then also you'll see here that we do have a small storage compartment right here back behind the battery. So if you need to add in those little things, carry different things, you do have that storage compartment there. Next here, guys, on the left side, we are going to have our fuel cap and opening. A couple of great things about this is it is going to be that wide 3-inch opening, so very easy to get those fuel cans. Maybe you've got this mower on a trailer, you're taking it to the gas station, be easy to get that gas handle, go ahead and go straight on in there with the fuel. This is also going to be a tethered lid, and you're going to have an 8-gallon fuel capacity. So the great thing about the 8-gallon fuel capacity is, like we said, these are those more higher end residential mowers meant for a lot of acreage. And so with an 8-gallon fuel capacity, you're normally going to burn about 1 gallon an hour in a mower like this. So that's going to give you a full 8-hour day of mowing if you happen to have that much. Lastly, guys, over here on the side, we'll talk about our rear tires. Now on this model specifically, we have the 48-inch deck. So with these back tires, these are going to be the 23 by 9.5, which means we are 23 in diameter and 9.5 wide. Now, whenever you're moving up in deck size on these mowers, you're going to get a wider tire. So when you go from the 48 up to the 54 or the 60, you're going to change from a 9.5 wide to a 10.5 wide. And reason being is that is going to change the difference in the weight that this mower is going to hold. So by adding the extra width to that tire, you're dispersing that weight a little more evenly and also giving more grip. So before getting onto the mower and showing all about the operator station, guys, I just want to show a few things here at the front. First off, being right here at our casters. Now this is one thing that usually we need to pay a lot of attention to, as these are our wheels that are going to be spinning when we're making those turns. And a lot of times on zero turns, we're going to have a grease zerk somewhere on this caster frame here. But with these mowers, you are going to have sealed ball bearings in here, so there's no need to be looking for those service points on these front casters. And then next, I want to talk a little bit here about this foot platform. This is going to add to the customization of this mower, being able to fit different operators as it is adjustable fore and aft. So right here, you can see that we have our foot platform in this furthest notch towards the front of the mower. So what that's going to do is give you the most leg room available here. But if you're a shorter operator, or maybe you're going to have someone else driving this that prefers different lengths there, we can move this in 3 different positions here, moving it closer to the operator or further away, just adding to the comfortability of this mower. So now getting onto the mower, another nice thing about these Z7s is that they do have these newly redesigned 9-iron high capacity pro decks. So with that, they've mimicked a lot of the designs from the 7-iron decks, and one of those is going to be that you do have this step here when getting on the deck, which means that you are able to actually step on this deck, and it's also going to be a non-slip step when getting on, so you can use that along with your lever to get onto the mower. And then next thing, guys, as I sit down here, so I would say is this mower is very comfortable. Now what you would expect normally being in an E trim level, with it being the lowest in the spectrum from that series, is that you're not going to have a very comfortable ride. But I'm telling you guys that in this Z7 series, whether you're in an E or all the way up to an R, you're going to have very thick, very cushioned, super comfortable seats here. So a couple of things about this seat. For one, we're going to have adjustability here fore and aft. So we're going to be able to push this lever forward, slide forward for those shorter operators, or we can go all the way back for those taller operators. You're also going to have spring suspension underneath, which we'll show here in a minute, that are also going to be adjustable fore and aft to either add to the stiffness or the softness of the ride of this mower. So the next feature that I want to point out here is another great feature to the whole Z7 lineup, and that's going to be the integrated park brake system. Now, on a lot of ZTrak mowers, all the other John Deere ZTrak mowers, you're going to have a lever somewhere down in this area, maybe right here, just like we would on our car, that's going to release that parking brake. But on the Z7 series, you're going to have integrated parking brakes that are here at the levers. So whenever I push these levers out, you actually hear a click, and when I pull them in, you hear a click. And what that is we actually have a button right here. This is going to be this sensor or switch right here that whenever these are out, activates that parking brake. So the nice thing about this is if we're going along, we're mowing, we need to stop and get off and maybe move some trash or some debris, instead of throwing our handles out and forgetting to set that parking brake and killing the mower, now anytime when we throw these out, we've got our parking brake set and we're able to get off. The other nice thing about this is if we're strapped in, you know, we're going along and we're mowing, and for some reason we need to make that sudden stop, something happens, something falls off in front of us, we're able to stop very fast by simply throwing out our levers here and being able to stop this mower from maybe running over that debris. So next thing here, guys, that I always like to point out is that we do have adjustability at the armrests. Now the armrests for some people are not a big deal on these mowers, as they feel like that they're going to be with the handles. But as you can see here, when I'm sitting in the mower, my arm is resting here. But if you're that shorter operator or maybe taller operator, you do have the ability to adjust this by simply turning this knob here either up to raise that up, or we can screw it further down to get an even more downward feel to our armrest. So just another adjustability factor to this mower that makes it great and adds to the comfortability of this machine. So next here, guys, let's talk about our control panel. We'll start here at the front with our height of cut system. Now this is going to be very similar to what we see on our Z9 commercial series mowers. It is going to be a turn dial system where we can change those heights, or we can go all the way from 1.5 inches all the way around to 5 inches. Now, how we go about changing this height is we're going to be able to push in here on our pedal, and then we're going to be able to turn this knob, and we have a notch here. It's a little bit hard to see, but we do have a notch here, and this is going to tell us what height we're selected at. So right here, we're at about 3.25, and then whenever we're ready to lower that mower down, the next thing that we'll do is raise up on this lever here, let off of our pedal, and that's going to lower down to that 3.25. Now when we're ready to go ahead and raise this mower back up, we're simply going to push in, and once we get to the top, as you heard that click, it is going to lock back up into that travel position. But if we want to go ahead and change heights, guys, once again, it's just as easy as turning this knob. Maybe we want to cut down here at 2.5, then we're going to raise up on our lever, let off on our pedal, and that's going to lower us back down. So very easy system, very easy to read, and very simple. It is spring assisted, so it's not super hard to push there on your pedal, and everything is labeled here to make sure that you know how to operate this system. Next, guys, right here on our control panel, we'll talk about this switch here. This is going to be our PTO, or blade engagement. Now this is just simply a rocker switch here that we would go on to turn the blades on and go off to turn the blades off. So very simple switch there. We also are going to have an hour meter here, so when we turn the key on, you will have an hour meter there. It is going to give you different service interval reminders, so when we hit those different service intervals, it is going to tell you that you do have those coming up. So just keep in mind that whenever those symbols flash up, there is some sort of service we need to do on this mower. Now moving back, we do have our normal throttle here. So we have the low throttle position all the way up to the high. And then we also have a choke here on this mower. This is going to be a regular carbureted mower. Now I often tell people that when they're going to start this, that we want to start this at about mid throttle, pull our choke up, and then start the mower and work that throttle until we get the mower started. And then also, guys, whenever you're going to engage those blades, very important that we're at about the mid throttle level. We don't want to be all the way forward, and we don't want to be all the way in low when engaging those blades, as we do have that electronic clutch that we're going to want to make sure and take care of, that's going to be grabbing that belt. So if we have our throttle all the way up and that engine's running very fast and we go to kick those blades on, sometimes that's too much tension and too much speed and is bad for our belt. And then also, if we're too low, it's hard for it to grab onto that belt and it doesn't get the deck started like it should. So just make sure that whenever we're starting the mower, starting the blades, we're there about mid throttle. Now next here, moving back, guys, we're going to see a little square here around. Now what this is actually going to be a cutout area where you can add in an additional switch. So say we talked about adding in such things as that light bar. If you're going to be doing things like that, you do have a spot here where you can add in that additional switch for those different attachments. Or maybe if we're going to be adding that sprayer, we want to add a switch up here onto our control panel, you do have that option. Lastly, here on the right hand side of our mower, we do have a cup holder and small storage container area, so you're going to be able to keep on board with you whatever beverage that is that you prefer, and also have an area where we can put maybe our keys or our phone or our wallet, and you do have that here on board on this mower. All right, guys, so now that we've talked about the ways to start this mower and engage the blades, I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So like I said, I've got my throttle here about halfway. We're going to pull our choke up here, go ahead and start this mower. Now, if you noticed, whenever I had that in choke and I went ahead and went to start it, you know, sometimes it'll have a little bit of hard time. That carburetor's trying to get that fuel, so you can slowly push down on your choke. And a lot of times that allows that fuel to get to the carburetor, which will help with starting that mower. Now I'll show you a little bit here about how our parking brake system works. So right here, I'd go ahead and pull in these mowers. Now, if we had a mower that had a parking brake somewhere else, if I wouldn't have relieved that parking brake, I would have just killed the mower. But since these parking brakes are integrated, the mower stays on the whole time. So now I can simply travel. Maybe I want to travel here in reverse. And then if I wanted to stop suddenly, I throw my parking brakes out, and then from here, I can go ahead and get up and the mower does still run. Now on a normal mower or on a different ZTrak with that different parking brake, that mower would turn off whenever I stood up. But since they're engaged here, it will stay running. So now, like we said, we'll go ahead and engage the blades here too, guys. Like I said, right here, we're in about mid throttle. We'll go ahead and turn those on. Now see, the one thing that I want you to keep in mind there is whenever I turn those on, it didn't sound like the engine had a real hard time starting, or the blades had a hard time starting and gave the engine a lot of trouble. But if I'm down here in this lower throttle and I go to turn these blades on, you see the engine, it's a little harder for those blades to get started because that engine's at a lower throttle. So we want to make sure that we're at mid throttle when we're starting these mowers to make sure that we're engaging those blades at an optimum level. So I talked about the foot platform and also the adjustability of the seat fore and aft, but there's two more adjustability features that I want to go over real quick. One being here at the handles. Now these are going to be adjustable. You have 2 positions of height. You can either be in the top position like we are here, or you can move down 1 position. But then you're also going to be able to adjust these fore and aft. So you can give these either a forward slope or a backward slope, depending on what fits you best as an operator. Now next is going to be an adjustability feature that I talked a little bit about here whenever we were talking about the seat, and that is going to be your seat springs on this mower. Now, one thing that is nice is you do have these heavy duty springs, but what's also nice is that you have 4 different positions here that these springs can be in. So as we see here, we have these 4 different places that we can move these springs and set them down in, and this is going to either make the ride a little more stiff or a little more soft depending on where we have these springs. And this will play a big factor whenever you're driving this mower for hours at a time, making sure that you're comfortable in that seat. So just remember that you do have these springs here that can be adjusted into those different positions whenever you're setting this mower up for you. One other thing here, guys, while we're back here and have the seat raised up, is we do have that seat switch. This is going to be the safety feature that comes on almost all mowers to make sure that there is an operator in the seat when running this mower. So just make sure that we've always got this engaged. That way you don't have any issues with turning your blades on or off. Next, let's talk about the deck here, guys. So not only can we get this in the high capacity Pro 48, but we can also get this in a 54-inch and a 60-inch deck option as well. Z7s have a very, very nice deck that's been redesigned on these. So before, we had the high capacity deck, which you'll see on Z5s. Now these are going to be high capacity Pro decks, and some of the differences is the regular high capacity decks were yellow. They've now changed these to green. Both of them are going to be a stamp deck that are made out of 9-gauge steel. But what they've done here on the high capacity Pro is they've gone in and modeled this after the 7-iron Pro deck that is on the Z9 commercial series. So some of the things that you're going to see is the very heavy duty welded caster wheels here. So you have these dual capturing caster wheels where we have framing on both sides made out of this very heavy steel. You're also going to have these very heavy steel weld mounts that go all the way around the front and around here on the side here to protect that deck, especially on the edging side here, as we know we're going to be getting up against those concrete barriers, curbs, different things like that. So we do have heavy duty construction there, along with this heavy duty step here on top, making it a very heavy made deck. Now also, while we're talking about the heaviness of this deck, I'd just like to point out the features here. Like we do have the chain hanging feature here, the very heavy lifting arms, and the heavy duty spring assist system here with this deck. Now one great thing here about the chain system is this is going to give this deck a float type feel. So whenever you have your caster wheels here, whenever you have these anti-scalping wheels adjusted to the right height, which when you're mowing, depending on what setting you're going to be mowing at, you're going to want to make sure that these caster wheels are between 1/4 and 1/2 inch off of the ground, making sure that these are going to keep this deck from scalping. But when you get in those positions that it does do that, and this deck were to hit the ground, these chains here are actually going to give you a little bit of float there and some wiggle with this deck, taking away some of that rigidity, taking away from this deck kind of digging into the ground. So a couple of really nice features there with the anti-scalping wheels and the chain hangers. Now next, guys, here another great feature is we do have our flip up spindle covers. So these are going to be great for clean outs. As we know, guys, that whenever we're done mowing, we always want to make sure and clean off our deck, go ahead and get all of that debris and dirt moved out. The more debris, the more dirt, the more things that we leave underneath here and under by these spindles, just the more wear and tear that we're going to cause, moisture buildup, rust, all those different things. So we want to make sure and clean this out. And it's also going to tell us right here on top of the spindle cover to make sure and use air, not water. So the less water that we can use on these mowers, the better. That way we just have less chance for rust, less chance for wear. So make sure to keep that in mind whenever you're done. You're going to clean this off. Break out that air compressor, that leaf blower, whatever that may be. Clean this deck off. Make sure to keep this thing, keep the life of it going as long as you can. Keeping the life of these decks, another very important thing is going to be keeping our spindles greased. Now right here we have that grease cert right on top, easy to get to. We don't even have to move the cover. And now as you can see here, I've got the foot platform removed so we can easily get here to the middle one. And then you're also going to have one out there on your outer cover, which is also going to be flip up as well. So making sure to keeping these decks, keeping the life of these mowers going, is making sure that we are servicing those points just like we would service the rest of our mower. So a couple other things, guys, that I want to point out as I'm putting our foot platform back on here is that you do have a fuel gauge on this mower. It is going to be a sight gauge right here in front that's easily readable. So when you're going to get on the mower, you're going to see that. You'll know exactly how much fuel you have in your mower. And then a couple other points that you need to keep in mind are going to be these bolts right here that sit right in front of our control arms. Now what these are going to be our adjustments for tracking. Now tracking is going to be the setting here, guys, that whenever we're on this mower and we're using our control arms, let's say we're pushing both of these forward at the same time, but for some reason we seem to be turning a little bit to the left. What that means is that our tracking is off, and we can adjust that with a 13mm socket right here at this bolt. That's just going to change how much these levers go forward or backwards, and we'll adjust that to get to where this will drive straight. So some very important things to consider when you're making this mower purchase are going to be the dimensions of the mower, as when we're thinking about whether we're putting this mower in our backyard shed or whether we're putting it in the garage next to our vehicle or wherever those places are, we need to know the different dimensions of this mower. So first off, guys, let's talk length. Overall length of this mower is going to be 81 inches long. Then if we're talking height, we're at 71 inches tall with our ROPS up. If we fold the ROPS all the way down, the highest point here is at the top of the seat, and this is going to be 47.5. Now with the 48-inch deck on like we have on this model, the overall length here is going to be 62 inches wide. Now if you flip up that outer deflector, you can get that down to 53 inches. So now if you're looking to where you're going to be putting this mower, you have a good idea here with those dimensions of where exactly you can fit this mower. So guys, I hope this video helped you out, and if it did, we just ask that you'd please hit that like button and give us a subscribe, as that's what keeps us going and keeps us pushing out these videos for you all. And also, guys, if you have any John Deere parts needs, make sure to check out that link in the description below. We're going to be one of the best places to buy those parts online. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Z720E. So if you stick with me here, let's get started. What do you think?
I think you need a boat anchor.
A boat anchor to keep me down? I'm not as light as you, big dog. I am the boat anchor. You wanna hold on to me? I got an extra belt loop. Oh my gosh, you gotta love Oklahoma and all this wind. Are you ready to roll?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. I think you can edit out that little hiccup there. Hopefully. Hey guys, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and go buy your parts at west-equip.com/parts.